everybody, and welcome to a dope wild ride with Steve-O. We got Lance Armstrong, and believe it or not, we discuss his doping scandal. And I just wanted to debate with him about whether or not performance-enhancing drugs should just be legal in sports, right? I mean, what fan does not want to see a performance enhanced by the athletes in their favorite sport? You know, like, it's incredible what his position is on this, and just how candid he is. I mean, this guy like discusses his legacy. I mean, that's really like kind of at the core of our conversation. Like, his legacy is evolving, you know, and what it's evolving towards, and how the history will ultimately view him. It's just a fascinating thing that we discuss. And this guy does not do podcasts, like, not a lot of them, and you just don't hear from him. What an honor it was to be able to sit down with him and just let it ride, you know, unfiltered. I knew I wasn't going to hurt his feelings. I knew I wasn't going to offend him. I know how tough his skin is, and I just let it ride, man. This was an honor. This was absolutely dope. So let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, people of the universe, I bring to you the most famous cyclist ever to live, Lance Armstrong.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude. Man, it's
I heard you're a cyclist.
I am.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty prolific, man. I'm on Strava.
I heard. Okay, I'll check it out.
I'm big on my Whoop band.
Yep.
That's what really turned it all around for me, is like the fitness tracking device, gamifying fitness.
Yep.
You know, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's come a long ways, the way we can measure these things that, I mean, I've been doing this a long time. Like, we had sleep trackers 25 years ago, right?
What did that look like?
Oh, it certainly didn't look like a Whoop band or an Oura ring, right? You had almost like a little mini headband that you would put on, had cables attached, so not wireless, and you would try to go sleep, which you can figure that out. That didn't lead to great sleep. So
I've done sleep studies.
Yeah, so it was like a less involved sleep study, but sleep study is the same. Like, it's
very difficult.
It's pretty much a guarantee
asleep.
you're going to sleep like shit.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyways,
so dude, so much to your story, man. It's pretty incredible. I watched the Lance 30 for 30 2-part documentary on Netflix, but presumably it came out, you know, quite a bit sooner on ESPN.
On ESPN, 5 years before it dropped on.
Okay,
on
wow.
Netflix.
And man, I kind of have an aversion to fiction. I just feel like so much stuff has happened. Like, why waste your time studying stuff that didn't happen? You know, like, it's just more interesting if it's true. So I watch all just docu stuff, and I really just kind of can't stand when a documentary about somebody is just crawling up their ass and tugging on their nuts, you know, and man,
nut in my sense.
Yeah, like it, nut. I like that, the uni ball.
Yeah, the Juan Pelota. No, but I know where you're going with that.
Yeah,
like
it's just like so many people have these sugar-coated documentaries, and you just so evidently did not.
I don't know if you know that to be true, or if you just picked up on that. And I certainly don't want to bag on anybody else's documentary, because a lot of the greats have made documentaries, right? Documentaries. I mean, and I'm like you. I watch a ton of documentaries,
right?
Like, and a lot of weird shit. You know, the Gabby Petito documentary.
Sure.
I was like glued to that.
Oh my God, true crime is my
true
shit.
crime. No, bro. Yeah. You want to come over and watch Dateline tonight? I crack these cases. Anyways,
I love it.
But you know, I thoroughly I enjoyed The Last Dance.
Sure.
I enjoyed Beckham's documentary. And whether or not or to what degree they were involved, I don't know. I mean, but I, with the 30 for 30 that I did originally with ESPN and in the process, I mean, I had no control, and I thought that was, I mean, I met the director, Marina Zenovich, before we started. I felt like I had a level of trust with her that, look, I mean, go tell a true story.
Right.
And that was, is there final edit, final cut? Absolutely not.
Wait, you're saying approval over the final edit?
I didn't have any
Absolutely, right.
approval.
Of course.
And so, but that's not a flex. Most people don't know that. If you sense that, you're in a small group of people that sense those things. When she first screened it for me, I fucking hated it. Right? I was like, this is a hit piece. The takeaway there is it's impossible to be the subject of an hour long, or sorry, no, that was 4
hours.
4 hour,
Yeah.
3 or 4, whatever it was, long story of your life. You're just not going to like. I mean, it could be, say it's 4 hours, it could be 3 hours and 45 minutes of rainbows and unicorns and a little piece of stuff you don't like, and you hate the whole thing.
Sure.
It's very difficult to be the subject. None of that really matters. The film comes out. I think the most important takeaway here for me is that it comes out on ESPN, right? And so let's call that, 2019, 2020. And people's reaction was kind of like, I don't know about that, dude. Fast forward, and by the way, I didn't know they were going to put it on Netflix. Nobody told me that they were dropping this thing on Netflix. I had no idea.
So
I didn't know until I opened up Netflix to probably watch some Gabby Petito-esque documentary.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. Like, my thing's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Which I thought was wild, but that's fine. But people who saw it on their Netflix thought it was a new film.
Right.
So they didn't see it when it dropped on ESPN. The film is the same. The only difference is the passage of time. And so now it comes out in 2024 on Netflix. People view it as a new work. And the difference in the reaction, and I just kind of walk through life, and people will come up to me like, hey, I saw that, 5 years ago, last year, it doesn't matter. And the difference of, I think, just in kind of my own perception of how people viewed it, the passage of time was kind to the story.
Yeah.
And all the way to the extent that if 5 years ago, people were like, I don't know about that dude. Fast forward, drops on Netflix, people watching like, that guy's the fucking man. Like, it was this weird, and I'm not, and again, not flexing. It's just real lived experiences that I've had with folks, and that's pretty dope.
I mean, the very beginning where you're talking about, like, I thought people were going to say fuck you, and at the bar, like, I mean...
Liz was there. She was standing there. I don't know if I can reference people.
Sure, yeah, by all means.
She was there.
This is Liz, your photographer of the last 30 years.
Everybody who knows me knows Liz. Anything you see that's been shot or published of me, Liz has shot it.
Yeah, I
30 years together, so she's got a lot of stories. But she was standing there, and having known me for, at that time, 20 plus years, she was like, "Oh no, this is not going to go well." Like, I know him, I see him, I'm vibing off him. He wants to jump over that rail, and there's like 8 of them. He's like, he doesn't give a shit.
You're talking about the actual encounter you were referencing in the opening shot,
right?
Of
when
the
these
film.
people are screaming, yeah. And we were waiting on an Uber, and she's like, and then the Uber showed up, and I'm still standing there like, I'm not getting in this Uber. Like, fuck this. I'm going over there. And she's like, Lance, get in the car.
Yeah.
Get in the car.
Now, by that point,
it's funny she's here.
By that point, you've had enough lawsuits that you got to have some built-in restraint when it comes to, like, physically attacking people.
And at that point, they were all, that was all behind me. You still have,
Well, understood.
yeah, but still
But-
PTSD and
Yeah, you know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And you got to figure
But
that.
that's the only time that's ever happened, wildly enough. I mean, I would have, 12 years ago when my life shifted, I would have thought that happened every day.
Right.
And so,
It's pretty incredible how different people are in person compared to online.
yeah, well, yeah, but that's the society we
That's
live in.
yeah.
I used to care about those things. I don't care about that now.
Right.
I mean,
So, I haven't like watched the story. First off, like, what was the impetus for the story, for the film to be made, like, in the first place? Like, were you approached by
so the
ESPN?
producer, Doug Banker, came to me, and wanted to make he makes a lot of documentaries.
Sure,
a lot
and
of,
30 for 30s are
yeah,
epic.
but he's
I mean,
done
they're-
other ones. He's done Untolds. He did the Johnny Manziel story on
Right.
Untold. He's made some great films. And I've always been. I mean, I told you I'm a sucker for those things.
Right.
And who's not if you're a sucker for documentaries and sports, then 30 for 30 is the North Star. So I was like, all right. It's we took a long time to do it. It took years to make.
Yeah.
Which I like. I like spending time with
Sure.
people. I'd rather just have it be more informal and conversational. And yeah, I thought, look, I ended up, it's funny because I grew to really love Marina, the director, during the process.
Was she the in the film it's credited as ESPN writer with the blonde hair? No.
No.
Okay.
No, but she's done some big. She did the Robin Williams documentary. She
Oh,
did the
wow.
documentary about the kind of zany religious leader in Tennessee, the lady who died in a plane crash.
Oh, right. Yeah,
I know you watched that one, dog.
Dude, definitely.
It was like part of the religion's like you had to be skinny.
The
Anyways,
dieting church, yeah.
yeah, so that she did that. But anyhow, I grew to love her, and then she showed me the film, and I was like, "Fuck this! Like, I don't ever want to talk to this lady again."
What was the? I mean, it couldn't have been about the doping that you were like, like.
No, but let me. But I don't. I want to make sure because I love sending her things. I do. I want to complete, and then I'll get to that. That was short lived. Sort of that.
Right.
That knee jerk reaction to what I'll also answer for you.
Sure.
And we're still to this day dear friends. Right. Every time she comes into Austin, we see each other. If I go to LA, I try to see her. I think she did a good job. I think she told a true story, and but I think it's more what. So what did I not like? Right? You always put. Look, when you go set out to, or you turn over the responsibility of telling your life story, but they're going to go interview people, and there are people in my life that I think. They're not fanboys, but they know the story. And then there are other people that have been on the periphery that think they know the story, and they love being a part of that story. So they'll go to an envelope opening to tell the story, right? And so they always raise their hand to be interviewed. And so you see some of those folks, and you're like, dude.
So they let in some perspective that.
Then you weren't like. I think a good analogy or comparison is kind of the special forces, right? You have a lot of guys who were truly there. And then you have other guys that were kind of there, and then you have other people that were just never there, but they said they were there, or they pretended to be there. I don't like that. Like, if I want to know what happened, I want to talk to the people who were in the trenches.
I think we all know that when Lance Armstrong talks about the people who were in the trenches with him, he's talking about people who had a secret in that they were using performance-enhancing drugs and could get in a lot of trouble if anybody found out. But thank God that is not the case for the man who wants his performance enhanced in the bedroom. And there's no problem with people finding out if you're using BlueChew tablets to have better sex. That's what BlueChew tablets do. They help men have better sex. And if you want to try it, then you could get an entire month's supply completely for free. Go ahead and perform better, man. Enhance that performance. You deserve it. And Again, you can get a whole month's supply absolutely for free. All you pay is $5 for shipping. That's if you go to BlueChew.com and use the promo code STEVO. Couldn't be more simple. And unlike for the cyclists, there's nothing wrong with doing that. You know, if you think it's going to help you, then go ahead and accept the help. I do, and I'm glad. So, again, go to BlueChew.com and use the promo code STEVO to get this incredible deal. And with that, let's get back to it.
Right. So in my story, there's quite a few of those. Right. Georgine Cappy being the most notable one, Johan Bernil, but all of these. I mean, my team in the day, and it is also, I think, apply or similar to the special forces. The similarity between our team, and they called us the Blue Train. And
that was the postal team?
That was the postal team.
Yeah, okay.
But we did a few years as Discovery Channel. It was the same guys. But it's similar to the special forces in that most of these guys, these legendary Navy SEALs, Delta Force, all those guys, if we went to war next month and somebody went to them and said, hey guys, y'all want to go back? They all go back. Almost all of them say, hell yeah, I'm going back. These guys that were on the Blue Train, the true guys, if I said to them, hey, I know we're 50 in our 50s, but fuck it, we got this chance to go race again. You guys want to go back? Every one of them would go back. Every one of them. And so it was a special crew.
Yeah. It's crazy. Is there a cycling league for people in their 50s?
No, it's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not I think people have thought about that. I mean, the answer is no. You mean like a senior tour or a master's tour?
For sure.
No.
How often are you
Not
cycling
even close.
now?
I ride a fair amount. I mean, we live in Austin full time. It's the city has changed. There's been growth, there's been development, there's been construction, there's been traffic. So it is not. I moved here in 1989. So riding a bike here is different than it was in 1989 or 99 or 09. But I spend the summers in Colorado. So I ride my mountain bike basically every day in the summer.
Do you do Zwift?
I do. I prefer to ride outside, but I've got the whole Zwift set up. And
let me not alienate anybody. Zwift is for a stationary bike where, you set up an iPad on it and you want to go ride through the actual streets of London, England, and you're on it.
It's a more serious version of Peloton. It's a Peloton you have in a gym at a hotel. Zwift is also gamified. So if you're out, it's just a more serious version of Peloton. And way more interactive, right? So
got really cold in Tennessee. And
so Zwift is your best option.
I mean, dude, no matter what gloves I'm wearing, my fingers just hurt. It's too cold. And so I go and set up a gym inside my house.
Yep.
And I just find the Zwift is harder work than riding outside. It really...
Well, yeah. The biggest difference is if you ride outside, especially if you ride on the road, you stop and coast more than you know.
Sure.
Right? So any little downhill, you're coasting. You're not pedaling. You are just sitting on the bike. That's not very hard. If you come to a red light, you're just standing there.
Yep.
So you don't get any of that with Zwift. You're constantly pedaling and you're never stopping.
Right. I love it though, man. I really do.
Yeah, good.
I love cycling.
They'll love to hear that.
It's just for my knees, cycling as opposed to other certainly running. I dread running. I mean that's just death to
most
my
people
knees.
do.
Right. But in any case, now with one thing that felt really striking you know, in the very beginning, they're talking about your childhood. You know, like your biological father leaves, and you know, very short. I think you were like 3 years old, and that's when your stepdad enters the picture.
My mom remarried roughly at that time.
Yeah. So, kind of as a viewer, you know, you're watching it and you think, oh, this biological father, the way he left, you just fuck this guy, you know, like it's all, you know, and then you see your stepdad on camera, and like just to look at him, he looks like a teddy bear. It just looks like a kind guy, you know. Like I was watching with Coral here, and I said, oh, this guy, I like this guy. This guy looks like a nice guy. And then the next thing you say is, man, he used to beat the crap out of me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man. But then they cut to him, and he basically says, yeah, I used to beat the crap out of him.
Yeah. Well,
and that was all that they included him in there.
Yeah. Look, I think that's a lot. I think you got to think back to the early 70s. I was born in 1971, so now my mom's pregnant in 1970. She's 16 years old. My biological father was, I don't know, maybe 17 or 18. By the way, he's no longer alive. I mean, it's hard to prepare a 17-year-old boy to be a father. We had no money. We lived in a part of Dallas, which is now kind of a hip part of Dallas. It's called Oak Cliff. It was not hip at all in 1970. It was the poorest part of Dallas. And he tapped out, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happens. And so, but my mom was really all I needed. I mean, she's nasty, but tough. And I mean that in the best way, like tough, loving, supportive, 24/7. Like she was amazing. And she remarried and you know, and she married, and by the way, I mean, when she remarried, she took on the name Armstrong, and I was adopted and took on the name Armstrong. So I wasn't even born Lance Armstrong. But, I mean, look, he was, you know, when you think of getting the shit beat out of you, you think of like punching you in the face. You know, it wasn't like that. It was just
disciplinarian,
overly aggressive on the discipline. But hey, you know, shit like that. Like I have 5 kids, and so I've been through this, right? I've got a 25-year-old boy all the way down to a 14-year-old girl. So you have to discipline them at some point.
Right. Those
learnings of what not to do.
Right. Well, I think the question is how much, I guess, credit do you give to, you know, because here in the film, your stepdad basically takes credit for making you so like disciplined and competitive, and you know, like, do you think that there was like a net positive from that, like overly aggressive?
I think I got my discipline from my mother and my anger from him. I mean, I've lived a lot of my life with anger, and I raced and trained with anger. And for athletes, especially young athletes, I think that's a good thing. I think that's a very motivating / inspiring thing, and can be wildly productive. I think in the game of life, when you're off the pitch or off the bike or off the training or, you know, outside of training, that will not serve you well.
Right.
And so it did serve me well when I competed, but it overall that wasn't productive for me. And so I've had to find ways to put that down. And so, but no, so it's, I mean, if that's credit, then give credit, right?
Right. I mean, to hear you say that, you know, you watching some kind of sporting event and to see the people, you know, opponents of each other, like shake hands, just to be cordial, and you're like viscerally offended by that. Well, like, how can you be cordial to your opponent?
They all hug.
I got an opponent, and I'm not very cordial about it at all because this opponent is basically the devil. It's sugar. I want nothing to do with it, man. And I don't have to have anything to do with it because I eat Magic Spoon cereal, dude. It's like, this is kind of like when you were a little kid, cereal was just so awesome. And it's just like that with all these great, awesome flavors, like the cinnamon and the fruity and the frosted, except there's 0 grams of sugar per serving in it and 12 grams of protein, like 4 grams of carbs. Plus, Magic Spoon makes these treats. They're like crispy treats, and they're delicious too. Plus, they just came out with this epic granola. And again, 0 grams of sugar per serving. It's like being a little kid again, but not having any of the guilt for eating garbage. And if you want to get $5 off your order, easy. Go to magicspoon.com/Stevo. And you can also find it on Amazon and at pretty much every grocery store because it's like really becoming awesome. People are figuring out how rad Magic Spoon is. So if you want to support this podcast and just dodge that enemy of sugar, then go to magicspoon.com/Stevo. And with that, let's get back to it.
I mean, I always have a go at that on our show, and we have our tour show. It's a big show, and these guys will hug, and so I think there's a little bit of Hollywood in that,
right?
Like, these fucking guys, what are they? Look at them hugging. I mean, how lame is this?
That's before the contest, right? After the contest, it's okay to be cordial, right?
No.
No.
What are you talking about? Standing around and waiting for the guy to come. You just kicked his ass and you're waiting. You're gonna hug it out? Like, come on, man. No, dude.
That's fantastic.
But I will say, I mean, even though it doesn't sound like it after what I just said, I mean, I embellished that a little bit, play it up a little bit. But yeah, I was not. We were not doling out any hugs, waiting at the finish line.
Dude, that's so funny, man.
Yeah.
With I mean, and dude, like, okay, so the with the cancer diagnosis, that happens in like 1996.
96.
So that like I mean, it all happened like really like pretty quickly, right?
I mean,
like
right down the street, right here in Austin.
Right. And I understood that you had testicular cancer. That like a few people I know that you get a testicle removed.
Yep.
But in your case, it was so much more serious, and presumably because you didn't jump on it right away. Like you've got like I've got this enlarged testicle. It really hurts. Like
I know, but I was ignoring all that, and I
And so because
just played through the pain. It hurt. I mean, it was painful, and
so it wasn't caught early. Is the point?
No, it was not. No, definitely not caught early.
Definitely not caught early. And so as a result, it wasn't just testicular cancer. Like it spreads.
Well, it was. It's the same cell type. It's just spreading throughout the body. So it even though it's in my abdomen, my lungs, my brain, that cell type is the same, right? I mean, you could try to make it really funny and say, well, you had testicular cancer on the brain or some stupid shit. I mean, but that's true. Like it that cell type, which my cell type was called choriocarcinoma, is just spreading. So they're not treating just because it was in the lungs or the brain. They're not treating brain or lung cancer. They're treating that cell type of the original, the primary cancer.
But the way they're treating that cell type in your brain is like
surgery.
Sawing open your skull.
Surgery. Yeah,
I mean, like the images of your, I mean, you had like legit brain surgery.
Yeah, I did.
Like they're
legitimate.
I mean, they're like, I mean, it looked like they.
It was like Halloween. I got it. Yeah, they take out the pumpkin, the seeds, and it was like Halloween. Dude. It was like your jack-o'-lantern, or your thing you put on your doorstep.
Can you walk me through like what the actual like brain surgery, like what are they doing in there? I mean,
there's a lot of ways to. I'm not a surgeon, and I'm certainly not a brain surgeon, but I was, I guess, sort of lucky because these lesions were on the surface. So sometimes you have to. They're in other parts of the head. This one, once they open the skull, and it's just that. I mean, they cut the skull open and they pull it off, and the metastases was right there. So they pull that out, then they go test that, et cetera, and then they put the top back on. And
it's like a biopsy on your brain.
They were going in to remove it,
right?
Because the body has this natural defense system called the blood-brain barrier. So there's this barrier between everything we put in our body, everything we consume, everything we breathe, to protect the brain from all these toxins.
It's like an egg yolk kind of thing.
That we just get as we live life. And so it also would theoretically protect you or protect the brain from high-dose chemotherapy. So that's the only reason they went. Everything else was treated with the chemotherapy because it was able to travel there.
Right, okay.
Because of this, and we all have it, right? The blood-brain barrier. The thought was that it wouldn't get to the brain. It would not be able to treat those lesions. And so that's why they went in and got them.
Man, and so the
But
medical
that also explains a lot of the symptoms. I mean, massive headaches, blurry vision.
Yeah, wow.
That was all because of the brain spotting.
And at the time, like, how are all the massive medical expenses being covered? Is it like personal health insurance? Is it like the...
So I was between, it was funny, I was between teams. I think initially my insurance might have been in place for the initial plan I was on. And then, but that plan was ending because the team was ending. I was going to another team. So I was in this sort of no man's land. And this is actually an incredible story. I had been a lifelong Oakley athlete.
Yeah.
And had planned, my plan was to be an Oakley athlete forever. And Mike Parnell and Jim Gennard, the founders of Oakley, said they put me on the company insurance plan. And I think there was some pushback from the insurance company, and they stood their ground, and they said no. He's so for years I was on Oakley's health insurance plan. Otherwise, without them, I mean, you're certainly not going to go out and get insured. That would have been terrible.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you got the. How soon are you competing again after the brain surgery and all of this crazy stuff?
Excuse me, are y'all here to visit with one of the tenants?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Who is it? Lance. Hi. Okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure.
There you go. Way to let her have it. Do you know who that is?
It's hilarious. We have to keep this part in. I don't know. Where's she going? She might. She doesn't look like the landlord. My office is right over there, so I.
Yeah, she's over.
I feel like I would recognize the landlord. Anyways.
Yeah.
I'm a tenant.
Yeah, you are.
So there.
Yeah. What is this place that we're at?
This is, it's funny. I live right across the street, so I can come to my office and kind of come and go all the time. But this guy had this land, and these have all been here forever. And then he went around Texas and bought up these old Victorian homes, deconstructed them, moved them to this part of Austin, and reconstructed them. So it's just an office park, and my jam is right across the street. We just got in trouble because you parked in somebody else's parking spot. But anyways, we'll be fine. But back to let's just say brain surgery was November of '96. So then I was back competing February of '98.
Oh wow! So a whole year off.
I took a whole year off.
Wow, because I was under the impression that you were like still like kind of convalescing and like just.
No, I took the year. Yeah, a year. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Which, by the way, is a long time. I mean, it was good that I did it, but yeah, and did a lot. Obviously, that year involved a lot of follow-ups and
sure.
It was monthly follow-ups, scans, blood work.
I mean, the like by definition, you had stage 4 cancer.
Yeah, whatever you hear stage 3, you hear stage. I mean, whatever. It was 3 out of 3 or 4 out of 4. It was as bad as it. It was as bad as it could be.
Right. I mean, like anybody hears stage 4 cancer, you think death sentence. You're done. Like.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's.
I had great doctors. I mean, I went to the best place in arguably the world to be treated for that, and
right.
he's still treating patients to this day. I was in Indianapolis. I was just there a few months ago, celebrating the 50-year anniversary of him being Larry Einhorn, pioneering this cure/cocktail for advanced stage testicular cancer. And so 50 years, but I went straight. I was like, fuck this, man. Where's the, Tom Brady of testicular cancer?
Gotta say, I agree with Lance that you go with nothing but the best. And that's how it is when you're a small business owner trying to sell things online. You go with the Tom Brady of e-commerce, which is Shopify. No matter what size your business is, if you want to get to the next level, Shopify. Even if you're just starting a business and you want the easiest way to have the gold standard of websites, Shopify. And if you want to try this for just $1 a month trial period, that's $1 to figure out how much Shopify can put you on the map or take you to the next level. To do that, go to shopify.com/Stevo. Make sure that's all lowercase. It's shopify.com/Stevo for the $1 trial period to figure out why Shopify is the Tom Brady of e-commerce. So do that, and let's ride this baby all the way home.
And they're like, oh, he's an Indian. But also, too, this is 1996.
Right.
Think about that. You didn't pick up your smartphone, your supercomputer in your pocket. And
you barely had email at that point.
No, did not have email.
Yeah.
Yeah, had a little, janky Motorola flip phone that barely, you had nothing.
Right. 1996, I don't even know about a Motorola flip phone. You had
I
it was
one.
like a car
I only know
battery.
I had one because I made a call on the way home from being diagnosed. But
did you ever meet or communicate with Tom Green? He had the
no, I don't know, but I watched his thing on Amazon.
Oh, Amazon. Oh, wow.
The new one.
Very recently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like where he's like walking around. He lives on a farm in Canada, and he's got his mom on there, and
yeah, that's fantastic.
he brought in a lot of the old. I tell you, I watch all this shit. I travel so much. I just download tons of shit because I'm sitting there.
Yeah.
And I'll work, and then I'll watch something, and then I'll work, and then I'll. But yeah, I watched it. Because he had testicular cancer.
Yeah, big time.
Oh, that was cool. That was
he back at there was like the pinnacle of his MTV.
Yeah, he was like an early version of Jackass.
Yeah,
like they go, if you saw it, I mean, they're showing that early Canadian show where they're just walking around and asking people to do shit and pull little pranks and taping himself to a light pole or whatever.
He's like the founding father.
There you go.
Yeah,
well, he's the OG Jackass.
Big time.
I watched I got sucked into this. Some shit on HBO, with the BAM was on.
Yeah.
It's like a whole series of
weird
stories.
The strange cases. Yeah.
Like the cat lady, and then the funeral home people.
Right.
Like all this weird. But I watched his, and I was like, man, that's hard to watch.
Yeah, and frankly, I think they went pretty easy on him. They made it like more about like these dueling.
The lady who had the protocol that went out of business,
right.
Who wanted conservatorship or
right. It was tough to watch, but at the same time, like a train wreck, you just can't take your eyes off of it. Yeah. When you say that you're always traveling, like what brings you to different places and where are you going?
First of all, I like to travel. When I sort of had this period, which I think the 30 for 30 covered. I mean, at post Oprah, the world, I was one of the first people in America to be canceled.
Wow.
And, most folks in that scenario are like, well, that sucks. Like, guess I'm canceled. I didn't do that. Like I didn't want to do that, and that wasn't. I have 5 children. I have a beautiful family. I'm like, fuck this. I'm gonna figure out a way to support my family. And so I just started running plays and started my podcast, which ended up being pretty successful. And then on the heels of that, started an early stage venture fund called Next Ventures, which is really the name is a bit of a meaning for my life of just what's next. Like, okay, that was then, this is now, what is next? And so we invest in across the healthcare spectrum. So I traveled to either raise money for the fund or meet founders or go to conferences. But a lot of travel, and I'll travel for fun. Like I go do shit I like to do.
It's fucking awesome. Okay, so first let me ask about the Livestrong. I see Livestrong. I also see the Lance Armstrong Foundation. But those are the same thing, yeah?
They, in a way, yeah. So it started as the Lance Armstrong Foundation. Livestrong was just a brand that we created
Right.
At the Lance Armstrong Foundation for a program. And then, of course, that brand became a much bigger brand because of the yellow wristband and all of the, I mean, we sold 82 million yellow wristbands that said Livestrong.
Right. I mean, it's outrageous that Nike approached you saying that they wanted to sell 5 million of them.
Right. They first made 5 million.
Right. And they ended up selling, and then sold them for $1 a piece.
So they were always $1. And
so $82 million raised.
Yeah. I think that's the last number I heard. I mean, I'm sure they still sell them.
Wow. It's that's remarkable.
I know. I mean, we thought it was the dumbest idea ever. Like, ugh, we gotta wear this thing.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, just wear it for this tour. Just do it, this tour. And I was like, all right, I'll do this thing.
Unbelievable. So then, that was John Kerry was running at the time against George W. Bush for the second Bush.
With what, John Edwards?
Yes, so that means that was like 2004.
Yep. They launched in 2004.
Yeah. You you retired after the Tour de France in 2005.
Yep.
And then and you would have got away scot-free with everything had you not come back in 2009.
You're right. You're exactly right.
I mean, it's because let's be honest, there's never been a cyclist that made it into like the mainstream consciousness.
Right. Well, I mean, Greg LeMond was. I think any American that wins the Tour de France is going to be, maybe not to our extent, but there'll be certainly in the sports world there'll be a household name. But then you couple it with the cancer story, and that's one obviously every American can relate to, and so that's what made this story just 100x. Right.
So without the mainstream, every household, it just doesn't get the attention. So you don't come back in 2009. Is it just something that just never would it just have never come out? Like what?
No, that's I'm sure. Who knows?
Here's my argument for why it wouldn't.
Well, I'll make my argument on why it would have. History is not stupid. History always tells the truth.
Okay.
And all you have to do is wait. So for me to sit here and say, well, if I didn't come back, then none of this happens, and I would have got away with it all. I think history catches up with everybody.
Okay.
And so that's, in the short term for me, was difficult, right? So history edited my story, right? And as this played out. And the version that was edited to at the time was, he didn't win any tours, right? Think about that, right?
You were stripped of
all 7. So if you went in the record books, it says 0. It also says those 7 years, there is no winner, right? So here you have an event like the Tour that is beautiful and iconic and historical and all these things. It has to have a winner. So, but history doesn't stop, and history doesn't stop editing. So that story will continue to be edited, and eventually the truth will be told. And it's just a different version of the truth. What really matters is I don't really give a shit what the history books say now. I don't give a shit what was written or is written. I just don't. What I care about are the people that I was in the trenches with. And I'm obviously talking about my teammates, but I'm also talking about the people that we referenced. The guys that got beat, the guys that I wanted to beat, the guys I refused to hug. If we ask them what happened, they will tell you what happened, right? And they'll tell you who won the races. That is so true and so special that history will correct that story. Now, I might be long gone and dead and whatever. That's fine. That's fine.
Right.
History never stops. And it never stops searching for the truth and editing.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to give you that one. I was going to say that...
And by the way, that's maybe something that I just like to tell myself. I could be totally wrong. I don't think I am, but...
I'm gonna give it to you. My argument would have been that for it to have gone so long, and it not have been revealed, when just the times, the time trials, these numbers, like, what was the year where it's like, it just kept getting faster.
Yep.
It kept getting.
Well, they continue to get. But that's even now it's a lot faster.
Right. So,
There's a lot of ways to that. I don't think that's nefarious. But I also don't know. But I think we just get better. I mean, you can look at all sports. I mean, they get younger, they get faster, they get stronger, they get better. Times come down, weights go up. All
right. Did anybody else get stripped? You got to imagine the prevalence of doping in cycling. There's never been a clean
Floyd
winner.
Landis' title was stripped because he tested positive at the Tour, so they stripped that one and they elevated somebody else. They elevated Oscar Pereiro. But that's sort of apples and oranges, because if you test positive in the Tour, then they do elevate somebody else. The other ones who either, the better examples, like a Bjarne Riis, who admitted, was not stripped. Anybody else that had admitted, they're still there. Jan Ullrich has admitted he still sits as second in the Tour de France. So no, it's again,
they got to have a test result.
Well, that's how Floyd's story played out. But again, these are all things that history will not allow, right? You and me sitting here saying, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right.
And you or me are not the smartest two dudes in the world, but we can fucking figure this out. Like, that's where over time history just corrects things, and that's okay. That's okay. Look, you didn't park at my office, but if you did and walked inside, there's 7 yellow jerseys hanging on the wall.
I love it.
Nobody has ever come to claim them. None of it. I towed the line with 200 guys every year for 7 years. Not one of those dudes has rolled up on that office and said, give me that jersey.
Right.
So, and if they want to show up and take one and make a case for it, they can have it.
Right.
No problem. But nobody's coming.
It's a moot point after the fact.
Yeah.
Nobody's contesting that you won.
But it was hard on. It was I touched on Floyd. I mean, it was hard on Floyd, very hard. And it was hard on Jan. It was hard on all of us. Everybody that raced in that generation got exposed, whether it was a positive test or whether it was the press or whether it was an admission, whatever it was, a police raid. Like all these things happened, right? And their downfalls destroyed many of those men. Destroyed.
Right.
Some killed those men. They paid the price of life. And so I also used those guys who I always used as competition and inspiration as a way to say, man, I am not going to do that. Like I have to hold this together. I have to protect my family. And at some point, play another game, right? I'm not allowed to play that game, so I'm going to figure out another game to play, and I'm going to stay healthy,
Yeah.
right? But it destroyed a lot of guys.
Yeah. With when it all comes crashing down, and you do the Oprah thing, and then the lawsuits start piling up. I mean, like there was a lot of kind of emphasis on the Postal Service lawsuit. And
Yep.
for anybody that doesn't know, the United States Postal Service has a team. They put all this money into the team, and then they say, wait a second, that money was kind of
Federal money.
Yeah, federal money was paid
But
like
it was built on a fraud.
yeah, right.
So
And
we want it back times 3.
right, and it's a little bit times 3.
They wanted $100 million.
Right. Okay. And there was so much emphasis.
Which I didn't have.
Yeah. So much emphasis on that one lawsuit. But then,
There were a lot
like
of others.
by the end of it, when the story really unfolds, you see like 5 million here, 3 million there. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it was is there a ballpark estimate of what if you count legal fees on top of settlements?
Yeah. No, there's not a ballpark. There's an exact number.
Oh wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Because if you, it's 100. I think it was 107 or 111 million dollars. Now that's including things, obviously legal fees. You have to defend
Sure.
yourself. You want to hire the best lawyers. They are expensive. That's also factoring in endorsements that were in place that were signed endorsements. So not pending any sort of renewal or. But so
you're
those
saying lost money.
Those go away. So that gets lumped in.
Right, okay.
Nonetheless, it was a lot.
Yeah, I mean if I recall, the Postal Service lawsuit, you settled for $5 million,
Yep.
but then you assigned a $6.5 million price tag to the whole affair, meaning that you paid $1.5 million in legal fees.
The 5 was I paid fees up to a point, legal fees.
Uh-huh.
I had amazing lawyers, and we had a special relationship. So that was I was set for defense. That doesn't get to the settlement. The settlement, you just got to pay it, right?
Right.
But settlements, somebody wants $100 million. It's just a math equation.
Right.
If you think there's a 50% chance you lose this lawsuit, well, then you should be prepared to pay $50 million, 50% of 100. We thought there was a 5% chance. They thought that. I actually thought there was a 0% chance, but whatever. They convinced me that there's a 5% chance, and
Right.
so we settled it after like 5 years. I mean,
I love that you called it $5 million to get 1 month of your life back.
Yeah, the trial would have been. I mean,
A whole month.
easily.
Yeah.
Which
So with all of that litigation, what what's your financial picture looking like? I mean, were you like?
No, it was. Look, there was a ton of uncertainty. My exposure to Uber at a very early stage of that company's life was transformative and saved my family's certainly quality of life.
Wow.
And
That's something that didn't get mentioned. So
it's out. But I made a very early investment in Uber that was. I mean, it's just it's fucking magic. It's just
That's
magic.
awesome.
Yeah.
Side point, but despite the great stock value of Uber, has the company turned a profit yet?
I don't pay. I'm no longer a shareholder. But look, the company's worth $70 billion. Let me just put it in context. I mean, we invested in the business at a valuation of $3.5 million.
There you
So
go.
you can just do the math. All right. So it was, and I invested through a fund and a founder of this fund, Chris Sacca, who is like a brother to me. But if he doesn't make that investment on behalf of his investors, fuck, dude, I'd be I don't know that I'd be sitting here.
Man.
Yeah, it was magic.
It's so, dude.
Magic.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And then you take the money from the magical Uber investment.
Keep my family alive. I mean, just keep.
Well, right, and on top of that, you're able to deploy that and start this venture capital thing.
Well, yes. So I'm one of the largest investors in our fund, but also we have outside investors. So, but in the meantime, I was able to start the shows and start to build this audience back.
Yeah.
And then go launch the firm, which we did. But yeah, and now that we're in the same game that Chris Sacca was in when he got all of us access to Uber. Now we're getting access to things like, I mean, you mentioned Whoop, but we're early investors in Oura Ring.
Okay.
We've been involved from the very beginning. So it's not an Uber-esque story. There will never be an Uber-esque story. I mean, what Sacca did at an early stage there returned. That's the most successful venture fund of all time.
I'm dying to know if Uber's turned a profit yet. Because what do they spend money on? You got people driving their own cars.
You should do another podcast. You should do a podcast with Dara, the CEO.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated by it. Okay, so now this is my main question. When I'm getting ready to talk to somebody. And by the way, I didn't even say this. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah, I watched all the Jackass stuff. I even watched the last one, which is a couple years ago.
Yeah, I even watched the last one.
I like that shit. I like that shit.
Dude, fantastic. And what an honor, man. It really is.
And if I follow your personal health story.
Well, dude, thank you, man.
And the sobriety stuff, it's fucking rad.
Well, I appreciate that.
And compare and contrast to who we spoke about a minute ago. I mean, those are. I mean, you're sort of me, and Bam is sort of a lot of these other guys that just couldn't. They couldn't figure it out, and it killed some, and most likely will kill others. And so I've tracked you.
Well, man, thank you for that.
I don't do very many podcasts.
I did, right?
I don't. I just don't. I don't know. I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that.
I mean, dude.
And Elise goes, what was Steve-O's podcast? I was like, fuck yeah, I'll do that. I was like, I'll do that.
So rad. Okay, so my first thing that I thought to ask.
And then you're gonna let me go play golf?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
My first thing that I thought to ask you, what the hell's wrong with doping? Right?
Well,
I mean, like just from this perspective, as a fan of a sport, as a fan of athletes, of athletic pursuits, like the idea of a performance enhancing, like what fan does not want to see the performance that they're enjoying enhanced?
I hear you, but you got to have some guardrails in place. And I'm not a fan of these agencies that enforce these things, primarily because I just don't think they're that effective. I think they spend a ton of money and they're just not that effective.
Right. I mean,
but that doesn't mean that we should say, okay, well, you're not effective and this is a waste of money. Let's just let people do whatever they want. I don't think you should do that. And that's me saying this. And so you have to have these guardrails up. I think it's going to be interesting to see how this play. You're just with the whatever you call it or however you define it, health, wellness, longevity, optimization. You're seeing these things. I know you were with Brian Johnson the other day. You're seeing examples of people like him trying different things that involve things that 10, 20 years ago, people would have just looked away. Right? Injections, syringes, transfusions, genetic therapy, hormones. You're seeing now, and we as a firm, you see platforms built on the back of these things now, right? Whether it's TRT, whether it's other peptides, things like this, that I don't think is going away. I think we're entering an age where people are going to look to whatever they can to feel better, feel younger, make their dick harder, not have a hangover, make their skin look better, whatever.
Right.
And I don't think it's going away. And I think it works. So does that change the stigma around maybe some of that stuff? Again, I'll go back to what I said a second ago. I'm cool with my story playing out over time.
Right.
Totally cool with that. I'm going to let history just run it, and edit as it sees fit. And all of these things, even the cancel version of my story. Look at the weird climate that we live in politically, and all of I think it plays well in that story. So let it go. But I don't. Back to your original question, I don't think we should just let people do whatever. I think people would take extraordinary risks.
Well, there's one guy in your film says cycling. He's talking about the inherent risks. What we do cycling is dangerous. I mean, like we're going 60 miles an hour down hills, like in the rain, like we're millimeters away from each other in a pack of like 100 cyclists.
Right.
Like one guy falls,
Everybody falls.
It's catastrophic.
Yeah.
Everybody falls but you.
Well, I would fall in that scenario.
It's catastrophic.
Yeah.
The potential for disaster, and compared to just the inherent risks that are already there.
Yep.
Like how dangerous is doping in cycling? I get it in combat sports because now, like you're effectively a weapon, and you're like,
Steve-O, I think this is a non-starter.
Okay.
This is like cycling. Here, I'll tell you why. I mean, look, the Olympic movement controls all of these things. Cycling is a part of the Olympic movement.
Okay.
So things like cycling, swimming, track and field, gymnastics, you name the Olympic sport, they will control that, right? Because those sports have decided to be a part of the Olympic movement. So long as they are, then they are beholden to the rules that they make, and they will not change those rules.
Okay.
And so
people are still getting away with it.
I mean, I don't. You'd be crazy to think that they weren't, but I don't spend a lot of. I don't ever think about
You'd be
that.
crazy to think that they weren't. Like
No, you just based on the anonymous studies that are done, where they poll or quiz athletes on, hey, have you ever done this? Would you ever think about it? And they believe the studies to be anonymous, which they are, and those numbers are upwards of 40%. So, right, maybe it's 4%. I don't know. That gets me to the hurdle of what I said of like you have to imagine somebody is. I don't think about those things when I cover the tour, when I cover the race. I'm just like, fuck, they went fast. Like no part of me is like, that's not normal. We should question.
Right.
Fuck, I don't know. That's not my job. My job is just to talk about it. My job is to cover it, give my opinion on the tactics, on the dynamics, and that's it.
If I hear you correctly, it sounds like with no guardrails, people would just it would be just so crazy. It would be so absurd.
Yeah.
But
as much as I don't like those agencies, because I do think they just royally suck. I think they have to. Some version of them has to be there.
But even with the guardrails, there's so much like kind of wiggle room for things you can do
there's a
to
lot
cheat
less.
to get away with
a lot
it.
less.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Dude, I'm a fan, man.
Thank you.
I'll just say, unapologetic competitiveness is fucking rad.
Yeah.
I think that if I could crawl into your head, I think that almost like just as a way of life. Like I don't care if anybody likes me. I care about winning.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
And I think that like
that was paid to win, and I loved to win, and you know what? Actually, I liked to win. My relationship with winning and losing were not healthy, and so what I cared most about is not losing.
Right. Okay.
Right. So that's not a healthy way to go about it, and because when you have that approach, yes, you get to the same place as, hey, I didn't lose. Fuck, that's great. But you're not able to savor and to really cherish those moments of what it's like to win. Like I would be like, all right, well, we didn't lose. We won. Let's get the fuck out of here.
I mean, coming in second place is devastating for you.
It would have been awful. One of those tours, get second, it would have been like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
What a waste.
Right.
But, yeah.
So just
let's go biking sometime.
Dude, I would love that.
I'm gonna follow you on Strava.
Dude, I'm gonna do it right now. Dude, it's awesome. I'll let you play golf, brother. Dude, what an honor, man.
Thank you.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Like, That was one of my favorites. And I don't believe that Lance had a project that he was trying to really promote. Like he's doing his venture capital stuff. That's not like media that you got, he doesn't need to promote. He didn't need to do my podcast, is what I'm saying. Like he wanted to do it. Like, and he doesn't want to do podcasts. Like, what an honor. I'm just going to say it again. And what a badass, man. Like, I really want to ride my bike with him. Now we follow each other on Strava. I think we follow each other on Strava. We definitely follow each other on Instagram. And I'm not even going to say what the rad gift he was, what rad gift he gave me. It was wildly inappropriate, and I really, really loved it. Man, Lance, if this gets to you, fucking thank you, bro. Thank you so much for that epic time. And if you're still here at the end of this episode, please pass my thanks on to Lance, as the street team does. I really, really loved that one. And man, there's one episode, dude, Lance said it himself, like Brian Johnson. So the cat's out of the bag on that one. The don't die, like the guy who doesn't want to die next to the guy who's been trying to die for fucking decades. Like, wow, how epic is that going to be? And there might even be another one that I'm going to film while I'm here in Arizona on my top secret mission. I'm having a really good time. And I love you, and thank you for being around. Yeah, dude.